Hello everybody, welcome back to my revision channel. So today's video is going to be on A-level English and my experience of A-level English this year and what I think about it and my advice and everything like that. So I took A-level English as my fourth option, honestly because I love my teacher, and she told me that she thought I'd be really good at A-level English, and I had to come on such a journey with GCSE English that when I opened my results on results day and it was one of my best GCSEs, I was honestly shook and I was like, right, okay, I think I'm going to take English, because honestly it was either chemistry or English. I do not regret taking English compared to chemistry. I'm so glad I took it, but that was not the case at the start. So I do OCR English, which if you don't know is just 10 times harder than AQA English. I'm sorry AQAs, but it is. I literally spoke to someone the other day who was like, oh, I do like 4 or 5 texts. We do 8 texts. But this year I only did 4, thankfully. And the AS exam did not count. It was not relevant. And the essays were all the same. We had 4 30-mark essays, 2 of which had extracts, and 2 of which did not. So we did Streetcar Named Desire and The Tempest, which did not have extracts this year, and we also did Gatsby, which had an extract from another piece of American literature, and we also did Chaucer, which had an extract from Chaucer. So if I'm honest with you, I loathed A-level English up until my mocks, essentially. I could not cope with the fact that in all my other subjects I was getting high A's and in English I was not. My brain was like, Eve, you're a failure. Little did I know that English is just, honestly, like somebody told me at the start of the year, English is like this with its growth, whereas all other subjects are like that. And I did not believe them. Oh, how true that is. English is the biggest jump from GCSE out of all of my subjects. Purely because the level of writing and the level of perception and the writing style is just so different to GCSE. The texts are so much more complicated and they have so many more layers. So I started with Gatsby and Chaucer. I hated Gatsby. I loved the book and I hated learning about it because I felt like I was getting nowhere with my essays when people in the other class were just doing so much better. I felt like I just hated it. I was like, I'm going to drop it. I just hate the subject. I just really was struggling with it. I don't know why now, like looking back. But I just kept at it. I had a massive breakdown in December with English. Like the biggest breakdown I've ever had, where I got an essay back and like I literally just was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm not getting anywhere with it. Chaucer I was doing okay with, but still like I wasn't getting what I wanted. And one thing I would say with English is stick at it, because at the start of the year your grade from GCSE will drop. Like it will, but it will come back if you stick at it with the work. So at the start of the year I don't think I was doing it like properly, whereas as I went along I started reading like critical articles, reading other books, and just kept working at my essays. And for some reason I went into my English mock still with this negative attitude and I still couldn't figure out how to revise for it. And I came out of my English mock and I ended up getting 56 out of 60, which is a joke. I got 28 in both essays out of 30. And at that point, that was when my relationship with English changed, because I realised that I could do it. That was the highest I got in my Chaucer essays ever. Like, and that was 1 mark lower than the highest I ever got in a Gatsby essay. Like by that point, like I got 1 good Gatsby essay back just before Christmas. And my English teachers were like, look, you can do it. You need to get yourself out of this negative mindset. So like my English teacher at GCSE kind of just let me stay in that negative mindset, which is fine. Like it's not her fault, it's my fault. But one of my teachers at A-level, she was like, look, Eve, you need to like get out of this mindset that you can't do English, because you can. And I'm not going to tolerate you moping about when you're doing like well. And after my mocks, I was like, I can do this. Like, I am good at English, clearly. So, yeah, I think it's really a mindset thing with English. If you feel like you can't do it, you're not going to do well. If you feel like you can do it, oh, the difference. After my mock, I did not get lower than 28 on an essay for the whole of the rest of the year. genuinely, like, that is, I went from like 21 at the start of the year to 28, and I stayed there. I worked my arse off for English literature. I would say actually that was probably the exam that most of my time and energy went into, purely because I felt like I had something to prove to my teachers. I loved The Tempest and I loved Streetcar, which were the ones that we did after mocks. I actually much preferred them. Okay, that's a lie. I love Chaucer, but I genuinely like preferred them to like the first like term. I got really into the stride of it, and as I went along, we did a scene for The Tempest. I'd go home, I'd use my revision guides to annotate that scene, I'd read around the scene, like I would keep up to date, I would do quote flashcards, everything like that, as I went along, rather than leaving it all to like just before mocks like I did for Gatsby and Chaucer. And then for Streetcar, I love the teaching style that my English teacher does. She just goes through the text in depth and then wraps it all up at the end, and I just kept adding to my notes, making quote flashcards, everything like that. And I was still absolutely bricking it for the exam, because English is just one of those exams that it can go either way. And one of the exams, which I have learned, that I cannot judge how it goes. Like, I just can't. I'm incapable of doing it, so I need to stop doing it. So exam season rolled around and I was back in my English panic. So I went into like past paper mode like I did at GCSE. I cannot recommend past papers enough to revise for English. For someone like me that needs to like have concrete revision, sitting and reading the book just doesn't quite do it for me. So I did 3 past papers for Streetcar, 1 for The Tempest, 2 for Gatsby, 3 for Gatsby because I found Gatsby the hardest because you had to compare it with Unseen Lit, and 2 for Chaucer. I did the first ones without like timing, but without looking at my book, and then I did the second ones with time, with looking at my book. And once I got into that mindset of how to write a timed essay, because all the way through the year we hadn't been doing timed essays, we'd just been doing like type up essays, which is really great to enhance your understanding, but like I could spend hours on those, whereas you only have 45 minutes in the exam. You don't have the time to do that. So I built up my confidence with past papers, and by the time I'd gone to the exam, my English teacher was like, look, I've got nothing else to say to you, like I've got no feedback left, just go and do this in the exam. So that was a good place to be, which I think I got to because I did so many past papers. And the other thing that I do before an exam is reread the text. I did that for every single one of my texts. You do not know a text properly until you've read it 4 times. So I had read Gatsby at least 4 times, Chaucer I'd read 3 times, Tempest I'd read twice, watched 3 times, and what was the other one? Streetcar I'd read like a few times and watched a few times. I'd really recommend watching the plays, like if you do them, like find a production online and just watch it over and over again. So to revise for English, I did quote flashcards, mind maps, planned out a lot of past paper questions, memorised the examiner's report, looked at past papers for like marked by the exam board. That was how I revised English, exactly the same as I did for GCSE, only more stress. And then the exam rolled around, and honestly, I went into the first English exam right back where I started. I got myself in such a state that when I went into that exam, I was in the exact same mindset that my teacher had told me not to be in. I have never in my life come out of an exam feeling as bad as I did after I came out of that exam. I was so upset. Like, me and my friend came out, we just looked at each other and just cried. The Chaucer extract was about the garden, which I thought, yay, what a great extract. I had not left myself enough time to write a decent essay on that. I bombed it. I thought I'd bombed it. I wrote about the wrong person accidentally. There was no coherence to my argument. And Chaucer and Tempest are my better texts, I would say, in general. So to come out of that exam not being happy with my Tempest essay, which I'd spent too much time on anyway, and also feeling so down about it. I did not do any work for like 2 days after that exam. I was so upset. Like, I just came home and like wallowed in my own self-pity until someone was like, you've got your other English exam next week, you need to like step it up and you need to revise for those now. So After a day or so of wallowing in my own self-pity, I was like, right, I'm going to revise really hard and I'm going to go into my next exam with a much better mindset. I did so, and I loved the questions, apart from streetcar, which I don't think I did particularly well on, just because there were 2 really good questions and I picked the one that I regretted picking like 10 minutes after I'd started it. Gatsby was a beautiful question. It was actually on what I had literally just revised before I went into the exam, so I was literally blessed. And I was really proud of my Gatsby essay actually. And streetcar, I wasn't proud of my essay. The one that I'd written just before the exam I think was a lot better. But I was like, yeah, that exam went okay and I'm not going to over critique myself. And I came out of that one with a much more, I didn't come out happy with it, but I didn't come out like gutted. But again, goes to show that you can't judge your exams, because I go up to my English teachers on results day who have got my results because they just happen to be doing A to D, which is my surname, Miss Bennett, and they're like, well done. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I've got an A. Oh my God, I can't believe I've got an A. And you have to go up to them to ask them what you've got in your individual papers, because you don't have UMS for the new exams. And they were like, well, on your Chaucer and Tempest paper, I was like, yeah, I got like 10. They were like, no, you got 59 out of 60. I was like, are you actually having a laugh? That paper, what? I don't know whether they got the marks the wrong way around, like I genuinely think they have, but I was like, how can I have dropped a mark on a paper that I felt so awfully about? Just goes to show, don't judge your own English essays, because you always will get it wrong. I'm shook. I'm so happy with that. And yeah, goes to show that you can't judge your own exams. My main advice for English, to sum up, would be stick at it, because I have never come on such a personal journey in my life than I have with English. English has been like my personal, like the one that I've just grown as a person from, and the one that I think has been the most rewarding for me this year, if not the most challenging, but the most rewarding. Second would be read books around your author, read critical articles, watch videos. Don't just do the classwork, because it ain't going to get you anywhere. Third, past papers are your best friend. We didn't have any questions, so I got my teachers to make up questions for me. Planning past papers is your best friend. Even if you don't want to write them, just make sure you can plan them really quickly. Fourth, don't try and judge how you've done in an exam, because you'll get it wrong, as I clearly did. And don't panic, because the exam board are often a lot more lenient than your teachers are. And finally, read the texts. Know your texts. I mean, I don't know them now because I haven't touched them since like May. Okay, I have touched them, but like not properly. But by the time I went into that exam, I could probably recite to you Gatsby and Tempest, and I knew Chaucer and Streetcar like really well. Know your texts, and the only way you can do that is by reading them, reading articles on them, making quote cards, flashcards, all of those sorts of things. And make sure when you go into that exam, you can just pick and choose the bits of the text that you want, because you know it to that extent that you can do that. So that is everything I have to say for English Literature AS. I'm now going on to do English Literature A2, which honestly, I feel like I'm going to go through the same process again. I just feel like it's going to happen. Hopefully I'll come out the other end with a good grade. But yeah, that is my AS experience with English. It's been my most traumatic A-level, but the one that I've actually come to love the most in a way. And I don't know whether that's just because of the teachers, because I'm so blessed to have amazing teachers, and I swear to God if I don't have them next year I'm going to cry, because that's what happened to me at GCSE, but that's fine. But just stick at it with English, and don't come out the exam and compare your answers with other people, because it will make you feel rubbish. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about English literature, put them in the comments and I will reply to you, and I will see you very soon with a video on either German or Spanish. Bye guys! Mwah.